Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Milainul Fahmi. In this opportunity, I want to describe my assignment about increasing students' speaking ability through word game for the 8th grades of SMP. Okay, Chapter 1, Introduction, Background of the study. Okay. Look at developing science and technology. Language has an important role for human life. By using language, the people will express their ideas, emotions, and desires, and it is used as a medium to interact with one another to fulfill their daily needs. English has been the most important language in international communication. The people all over the world speak the language when they meet one another in every international meeting, workshop, or conference. All countries in this world have set the language as one of the compulsory subjects studied at school. Okay, focus of the study. Beside on the background of the study above, this study is limited to find out the increasing of students' speaking ability through board game. The subject of the study is the 8th grades of MTS and WMAJD in the school. Okay, for statement of the problem. Beside on the background above, the problem can be formulated as follows. How can board game increase the students' speaking ability at the 8th grades of MTS and WMAJD in the school year 2012 or 2030? Okay. Purpose of the study. This study is aimed at finding out the role of board game in increasing students' speaking ability for the 8th grade of MTS and WMAJD in the school. Okay. Significances of the study. The result of this study are expected to give about theoretical and practical benefit as follows. Number one, theoretically. The result of this study is expected to find out strategy of increasing students' speaking ability through board game. The number two, practically, teacher. The first teacher can use the material easier, and she or he will have a new method to teach speaking by using board game. The second, the teacher can make this method to be an interesting method in order the student easy to understand in learning speaking English. Okay, for student, the student will be easy to understand about how to say something. Number two, it will improve the student ability in speaking. And the last, researcher can use the result of this study to be reference and can search the same variable. Okay, for the chapter 2, review of literature and action hypothesis. Okay. Speaking ability. In this chapter, we'll discuss about the nature of speaking, the meaning of speaking, the function of speaking, the aspect of speaking ability, and macro and micro skill of speaking ability. Okay. Board game. The chapter discusses about the meaning of board game, the concept of board game, the advantage of board game, the disadvantage, and teaching speaking by using board game. Okay, the meaning of the board game. The meaning of the board game. To increase the speaking skill, we need method to be used. One of them is game. The definition of game is an activity that you do to have some fun. Therefore, board game can be defined as something or an instrument that is used to attract student motivation to follow the teaching and learning process, because board game can make the student more focused in learning because they don't feel that they are forced to learn. They also enable learners to acquire new experience within a foreign language, which are not always possible during a typical lesson. Board game can be method that will give many advantages for teacher and the student either. As bab B, the useful of board game are attract the student to learn English because it is fun and make one to have experiment, discover and interact with their environment. Okay, the advantage of board game. Carly, 2010. There are many advantages of using board game in the classroom. They are: the first, they are motivating and challenging. The second, learning a language requires a great deal of effort. The third, board game helps students to make and sustain the effort of learning. Fourth, board game provide language practice in the various skills: speaking, writing, listening, and reading. Fifth, they encourage students to interact and communicate. Sixth, the create a meaningful context for language use. 7. Speaking skill board game bring real-world context into the classroom and encourage student use of English in a flexible, meaningful, and communicative way. Okay, for the disadvantage of board game, there were 2009. There are many disadvantages of using board game in the classroom. The first, most people play with house rules. Example, money under pre-parking, not using the auction. That cause the game to last much longer than it should. The second, player elimination. Player can get knocked out of the game early. We want to watch other people play a game. Third, too dependent unlocks. Once all the properties are bought and traded, the game is just rolling the dice until everybody goes bankrupt. Okay, the last doesn't scale well to the number of players. For players, seem to be ideal. Okay, teaching speaking by using board game. One of game in teaching speaking English in board game. The effort of the linguist has strong basic because the learner intertwine it with their everyday life. Give chance to the student to more creatively because board game as method in teaching speaking English is very effective and more interested because the student will memorize the vocabulary and enjoying the feature in the board, so that using board game in teaching speaking will give achievement acquiring English. Okay, relevant study. The study that have relevant with this study. First, the study which has relevant with this research was conducted by Nugroho Noto Susanto on contribution of speaking practice with the native speaker towards student speaking capability. A case study of at second year of SMA and 7 Mataram in academic year of 2007 or 2008. Okay, theoretical framework. Besides on the relevant studies result can be proposed the theoretical framework of the research that may use as a basic of hypothesis formulation and to comprehend the interpretable relation. Speaking is one of language component that is function to express feeling, opinion, ideas, and emotion. One of strategy to increase speaking is discussion. By board game is one method in teaching speaking which encourages students to speak as much as possible. According to Hornbeck, 1995, the definition of game is an activity that you do to have some fun. Therefore, board game can be defined as something or an instrument that is used to attract student motivation to follow the teaching and learning process, because board game can make the student more focused in learning because they do not feel that they are forced to learn. Okay. Action hypothesis. The hypothesis of the result study is formulated as follows. The implementation of board game can increase student ability in speaking for the 8th grade of MTS and WMAGD in the school year 2012 and 2013. Okay. For the chapter 3, research methodology, research design. The present researcher categorized into a classroom action research. Classroom action research designed to help a teacher to find out what is happening in his or her classroom and to use that information to make the wise decision for the future. The approach used in the classroom action research can be qualitative or quantitative, descriptive or experimental. According to Kurt Lewin, there are 4 components of action research. They are planning, acting, observing, and reflecting. Okay. Research is action research is categorized as qualitative research, although the data collected can be in a form of quantitative. Setting of the study. The setting of the study refers to the place and time to conducting the study. Okay, subject of study. The subject of study is all students of the 8th grade of MTS Majidi in the school year 2012 and 2013. Okay, data collection. Performance indicator. The action as well as the research carried out can be said to be useful, to be successful when the learning achievement of class 7A of MTS and WMAGD in the school year of 2012-2003 is at least 70 individually and 80% classically. The percentage is decided on the criteria of mastery learning set in the school. It can be said that if a student gets 70% quality of learning achievement, he or she reach the mastery learning. Then if 80% of the student in the class get 70, mean that's the class research the mastery learning, and researcher will not go to the next key call it's beside on the action. Okay. Technique of data collection. A researcher use many kind of data collection like questionnaire, interview, or test. It will be noted that all method of data collection should be objective. The kind of data that used in classroom action research are quantitative data. In this case, the researcher used only the result of the increasing student speaking ability through board game. Okay, instrument. In this study, the instrument used first evaluation test, final test, and observation paper. And last, data analysis. After the data are collected, then the data are classified again to identification. The result of identification of the data is to classified based on student ability in speaking. To analyze the data through the interview method and observation is that using descriptive method. In this case, the writer used to observe patient, interview, and speech test as the technique way to analyze the data. Okay, that's all for me. Thank you very much for your great attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.